Okay, so we'll begin. So we finished up before Christmas, starting to look at the issue of intellectual property rights, and we've introduced the different types of intellectual property rights that exist out there, patents, copyrights and trademarks, and just begun to look briefly at how patents might work, what it is they do in markets, their impact on market outcomes, and what it is they're designed to do. That although patents limit access, they're supposed to increase availability. That patents offer the incentive to innovate. That while they limit who has access to a particular good, it is for a fixed period of time, and then once the patent expires, the product is freely available, or the idea is freely available and can be used by everybody. So we've looked at sort of the difference between different stages of patent protection. Before the idea is created, during the patent protection when the idea is available but to a limited person, and then once it goes off patent protection, and the increases in welfare that occur as you go from one stage to the other, the benefits of actually having the product, who can capture it under patent protection, and then when it's more widely available once the patent protection expires. So today we're going to continue looking at the design, structure and sort of mechanisms of patents and how they're put into place, and some of the different questions that are asked when it comes to designing a system of intellectual property rights. Why should we give people the right to own ideas? These are non-excludable goods. They're non-rivalrous goods. Patents make them excludable. These are things that can be used over and over again. That once an idea has been created, you don't have to come up with it again. The old phrase, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. But if the wheel was an idea that was invented now, somebody would have control of that for 17 years. So why do we grant such control? And what sort of rules or structures are in place to make sure we get the best fit? So the first issue we look at today is the concept of who should get the patent. Should it go to a sole or single patent holder, or should it go to many? Should you divide up between many? Is there an issue where you can try and generate competition? If you give it to one person, you're granting them monopoly power. So if a new medicine is created, should it be split amongst different pharmaceuticals? Or should it go to just one company? Is the monopoly in this instance actually a desirable monopoly? So we'll take a song produced by a lyricist and a composer, or a technology built out of two inventions. So there's two elements to the product, be it the music and the words, or two compounds into a pharmaceutical product, whatever it might be. So every consumer of the song or the technology must obtain a license from both creators to have access to the good. So to be able to use it, you must have both elements of it. There's no point having the words of the song and not the music, or having the music without the words. You want both going together. Or if it's a pharmaceutical product, you want both compounds. So we'll assume that consumers' consent to pay is distributed uniformly along a 0-1 continuum. So it ranges from 0 to 1. And consumers are distributed uniformly across that. So there's a certain proportion of consumers willing to pay 0, and then every interval between that, so 0.01, 0.02, 0.03, whatever it might be, all the way up to 0.98, 0.99, and then you get to 1. So there is sort of, if you take it in intervals of 0.01, there's 100 intervals, and each price, as it is, has the same number of consumers on it. So distributed uniformly just makes it easier to work with. You could go with a different type of distribution, but the uniform distribution just makes this a bit handier. So it's just the spread of distribution. What is the consumer's willingness to pay? So it ranges from willing to pay nothing up to willing to pay 1, and consumers are evenly spread between those two extremes. So P1 and P2 are the prices charged by the rights holders. So either the lyricist and the composer, the different companies involved. So all consumers whose consent to pay is higher than P1 plus P2 will request a license from each owner. So what is the consumer's willingness to pay? If P1 plus P2 is, just pick a number, is 0.4, if that is what the sum of the required loyalties are, and if someone's willingness to pay is 0.35, well, they won't buy it. What's the price of the good? It's 0.4. How much am I willing to pay? 0.35. They won't purchase it. Whereas if somebody's willingness to pay was 0.75, they would buy it. So at a price of 0.4, you'll have 40% of consumers who won't buy it, from 0 up to 0.4, and 60% of consumers who will buy it, from 0.4 up to 1, because of the uniform distribution of consumers. So the price will tell us how many people will purchase it. And that's the benefit of using the uniform price distribution. So owing to the distribution of preferences, demand for license is equal to 1 minus P1 plus P2. If you get the price and subtract that from 1, you'll get the level of demand. How many consumers are willing to purchase it? So the profit of right holder 1 can be written as what? Well, profit is price by quantity. In this instance, we'll assume that there's no costs. If you write a song, you've written, any money you bring in is profit. If you've written music and you bring in money, any money you bring in is profit. If you've written software, anything that comes in is profit. Your fixed costs are sunk. What you're looking at is the difference between average revenue and average cost, or marginal revenue and marginal cost for the next item. So for rights holder 1, it's the price he charges, P1, multiplied by the quantity sold. So the quantity is 1 minus P1 plus P2, whatever that might be. We use a price of 0.4. So if the price is 0.4, they'd be selling to 60% or 0.6 of the entire customer base. And the profit of rights holder 2 is the price he charges multiplied by the quantity. The quantity is the same in both cases. That should be a plus sign there. The quantity is the same in both cases. Whoever buys the song is paying both the lyricist and the consumer. What differs, or could differ, is the price they charge. So that is just P by Q, price by quantity. So to find the prices that maximize profit, we get the first derivative with respect to price and set it equal to 0. So we want to find the price at which the rights holder earns the maximum amount of profit. So clearly if they charge 0, they won't earn any profit. If they charge 1, well, they won't sell anything. They're charging the maximum price consumers are willing to pay. So as the price increases from 0, clearly their profit will increase. But eventually they'll get to a stage where if they keep increasing the price, demand will fall, and even though they're charging a higher price per unit, overall they'll earn a lower profit. So as the price rises, profit rises, but it'll rise up to a limit. Then once they keep continuing to rise the price, the profit will fall. What we want to find is the point where profit is maximized. In the limit between 0 and 1, as the profit rises and falls, where is the point where profit is maximized? And that point is where the slope is 0. If you can increase the price and increase profit, the profit function has a positive slope. And if your increasing price and profit is falling, well, the profit function has a negative slope. So where is the profit function maximized? Well, it's at the peak, at the top. The slope of a mountain at the top is 0. It's flat. The slope is positive going up to it and negative going down. So the derivative gives us the slope. So the first derivative of any function is the slope. So for license holder 1, we know his profit is P by Q. P1 is the price he charges, and then 1 minus P1 plus P2 is the quantity that will be sold. So that's P1 by 1 gives us P1. P1 by minus P1 gives us minus P1 squared, and P1 by minus P2 gives us minus P1 multiplied by P2. That's just multiplying this into the brackets. Sorry, what is the derivative of that with respect to price, the price he can charge? Well, d pi dp1 is just 1 minus 2p1 minus 2p2. To find the maximum profit, we set that equal to 0. So this expression here is just the derivative of that with respect to p1. And then just set it equal to 0 to find the maximum point, to find where the slope is 0, where the profit function reaches a peak, or just rearranging 2p1 plus p2 is equal to 1. So just bring the 2p1 and p2 over to the far side, and you get that expression there. For license holder 2, you can do exactly the same. You're trying to find the maximum price he wants to charge. Again, he's looking to earn as large a profit as possible. He could charge a higher price, and if the profit is increasing, he should continue to increase the price. But if he finds he gets to a situation where increasing the price causes profit to fall, he should reduce the price. So what position are we looking for? The position where the profit function is maximized, where the slope is 0, where it's neither rising or falling. So again, it's just price by quantity, multiply in the P2, P2 by 1, gives you P2, P2 by minus P2, will give you minus P2 squared, and P2 by minus P1 gives you minus P1 P2. Get the derivative of that with respect to P2, that's what he can influence. Give you that expression there. Set it equal to 0, because we're looking for the maximum. And it gives us the condition he will try to satisfy to maximize his profit. 2p2 plus p1 is equal to 1. So we have a set of simultaneous equations. In order to maximize the profit for license holder 1, this must be satisfied. And in order to maximize the profit for license holder 2, this must be satisfied. And they must hold at the same time in order for each of them to be maximizing their profit. So we have a set of what's called simultaneous equations, two expressions that must hold at the same time. So this is what license holder 1 wants to see satisfied, and this is what license holder 2 wants to see. So the issue is there a solution to this? Are there values of P1 and P2 that can satisfy these two equations? Can we maximize the profit of both rights holders given the conditions that must hold? So the solution is that P1 is equal to P2 is equal to a third. If you plug in a third for both unknown values, you'll find that both of these are satisfied. So 2 times a third plus a third is equal to 1, and 2 times a third plus a third is equal to 1. So the profit maximizing price, where there are 2 license holders, is for each of them to charge a third. So the price for the good for the consumer will therefore be 2/3, so 0.67. So 33% of the consumers will buy it, and 67% don't. So that gives us the profit maximizing price when there are 2 owners, and they can't earn any more profit. That is the point at which the profit function has reached its peak, when they're charging a third given the price. So that's if we break it up into 2. If we have a lyricist and a composer, or 2 pharmaceutical companies, 2 software companies, whatever it might be, whatever good we're looking at, if we try to break it up into 2, the price to the consumer will be 2/3. However, if we grant the rights to just one owner, why not have a monopoly? Give one firm the power and say, look, you are the price setter. You have control over this market. There aren't 2 people who must set the price, there's just one. Whatever profit is earned, you get to keep it all. Will there be a higher price and a higher profit in the instance where there's just one owner, where one firm has a greater ability to set the price, rather than having the simultaneous conditions we saw when there were 2 rights holders? So if there's just a single rights holder, we just have a price P. They just set a price for the product. It's not a price for the lyrics and a price for the music. It's not a price for the code and a price for the addition to the code. It's not a price for one compound or a price for the second. It's just the price. So the profit for this individual or the monopoly is P by Q. So clearly they're just setting one price. They set the price. And the quantity is 1 minus P. Whatever price they charge. If they charge 60, 40% of consumers buy it. If they charge 20, 80% of consumers buy it. So it's 1 minus P. And the derivative, so P minus P squared, if you get the first derivative of that with respect to price, is 1 minus 2P. So the derivative of P with respect to P is 1, and the derivative of minus P squared with respect to P is minus 2P. So the derivative is equal to 1 minus 2P. Again, the condition is the same. We want to find the price that maximizes profit. Not a price where we're still rising up, or a price where we're falling down. We want to find the price where profit is maximized, where the slope is 0. So set 1 minus 2P equal to 0. So you get P is equal to a half. So once you set that equal to 0, you get 2P is equal to 1. P is equal to a half. The price charged by a monopolist is a half. If you grant one firm complete power, they charge a half. If you were to split it amongst 2 firms, they charge 2/3. The price is lower with the single owner. So in general, we have fairly negative views of monopoly. That we have laws, competition authorities, and other rules that try to control and limit monopoly power. But when it comes to patents, a monopoly is actually better when it comes to the price. If you have 2 people trying to get their piece of the pie, the price will be 2/3. If you have 1, the price will be a half. So in other words, when the exclusive rights are in the hands of one person, the price of the good will be set at a lower level and more consumers will have access to it. The number of consumers who will purchase the good under the monopoly will be a half. The number of consumers who purchase the good under the 2 rights holders is a third. So access to the good increases from a third to a half. And note that the concentration of rights is also favourable to the owners. When there are 2 owners, each makes a profit of 1/9. So if you work out P by Q when they're charging a third, you can work out that their profit is 1/9. A total profit of 2/9. They're earning 1/9 each. Whereas with one owner, the profit is 1/4, which is more than 2/9, slightly more. So in fact, the profits for firms is larger under the monopolist. They're selling more, albeit at a lower price. But because they're selling more, the overall profit is higher. With the two owners, they're looking to maximize their individual profit. So it ends up with a lower profit of 2/9 rather than a profit of 1/4 as under the monopolist. So is there an example of something like that occurring? Can I find one? Where a product is split between two companies and the price ends up being higher. Well, we have a fairly straightforward example from Premier League soccer rights in the UK. So up to recently, there was largely a monopoly in the production of, or the purchase of Premier League soccer rights. If you wanted to watch it, you had to purchase Sky Sports from Rupert Murdoch. But the European Commission passed a law back around 2007, 2008, I think, that required that the rights not be sold to one company. The European Commission said a monopoly is bad. You shouldn't have a monopoly right being granted. We want to break it up between two companies. So they said that what the Premiership, the Premier League should do is break it up into 6 packages. That however many matches they were showing, there was 6 packages and no company could own more than 5. So they said if there was going to be showing of soccer matches, it had to be broken up. So they broke it up into 6 packages and no company could buy more than 5. So 2 companies bid strongest for them. One being Sky Sports, who had the sole rights up to that, and the second being the Irish company Setanta, who entered into the sports market in the UK over a number of years. And then it was decided to go into the market for soccer. So it was a 2006 ruling from the European Commission. So however many soccer matches they were broken up into packages of 6. If you, under the Sky Sports sort of monopoly, you just had to buy one package. Pay Sky Sports, we'll say €25 a month, and you can watch all the matches in the Premier League. When it was broken up, Sky had a certain number of packages. In the initial round, they had 4 of the packages, and Setanta had 2. If you wanted to watch the same number of matches you watched the previous season, you had to pay Sky Sports €25 and pay Setanta a certain fee. So when there was 2 rights holders to buy the same product the consumer could have bought the year before, the consumer now had to pay more. So what the European Commission did was broke up the monopoly, I assume under the guise of trying to help consumers, but actually forced consumers into paying more. So in the one monopoly regime, the consumer paid, we'll say, a fee of €30 to Sky Sports and could buy a season ticket for some other matches for about €80 for a grand outlay, a total outlay of €440. So in the season when there was a monopoly, watching however number of matches there were, around 138 or 140 matches, cost €440. When the monopoly was broken up, the consumer had to pay money to Sky to watch the packages they had, money to Setanta to watch the packages they had. The total cost increased to €576. So the price increased when there was 2 rights holders. They're both trying to maximize their profit. They're not looking at how much does it cost the consumer to buy this product. All Sky are focused on is how much can we charge, how much can we get for the bit we have, and what Setanta are focused on, how much can we charge, how much can we get for the bit we have. The concern over the whole wasn't really an issue. So the price the consumer had to pay increased from $440 to $576, just as our previous example would have shown. Okay, it was a highly contrived example, but put it into a real situation, and it does hold up that when there's one monopoly, one rights holder, the price is X. For Premiership Soccer, it was €440. If you try to break it up into 2, the price is greater than X, 576. Clearly, the Setanta experiment didn't work out too well for them. They went bust after maybe I don't know, 18 months or 2 years at it. Sky got 5 of the licenses, as was the maximum under the rules set out by the European Commission. So Sky took over the 5th of the package, and I think ESPN are now showing the 6th package, but I don't know how much they charge or if they do charge something. And whether the price has changed or whether the consumer is in a worse or a better position. But the issue is that what the European Commission did wasn't really introduce competition. Like, the issue is if you want to watch a particular match, it's only on one particular station. While there might be different matches from the Premier League on different stations, there was still a monopoly for the individual match. So if it was a match on a Monday night, you know only one company would be broadcasting that. If they wanted to introduce competition, they'd have been far better off saying a match must be broadcast by 2 broadcasters. And here now a consumer could choose one or the other. But when you're just splitting the number of matches across 2 companies, the customer must buy both to get everything, and in a sense have no real choice. But this rule still persists, and it's hard to know whether it is of benefit to the consumer. It clearly is of benefit to soccer players earning 150, 200,000 sterling plus per week based on the funds coming in here. But whether it's of benefit to the customer is of hard to know. So the issue is that the price will actually be lower when you grant the rights to a single monopolist. So in many ways we view monopoly as being negative, but here's a situation where it actually is a positive. When you're looking at patents, and from an economic perspective we tend to focus a lot on efficiency, what are we trying to get from patents? So patents have private and public benefits and costs. Private being to the firm or the patent holder, public being then to the community at large, the users of the product. The benefits of a patent are a temporary monopoly. If you have monopoly power, you can charge a price above marginal cost. So why can Sky charge €30 per month to watch Sky Sports? Well, they're largely a monopoly. If they face competition, the price may be lower. What are the costs to getting a patent? Well, it's the investment in R&D, actually coming up with the idea, getting the intellectual property in the first place. So for Sky, they clearly have to make a payment to the Premier League. For pharmaceutical companies, it's research and R&D. For composers and authors, it's time. So there are costs to getting it. For society, the benefits of patents are that perhaps there's knowledge externalities. That people can work and build on existing patents, create something new. That if somebody takes an idea so far and patents that, well, you're not limited. You can't use that patent, but you can build on it. This whole concept of seeing further than others because you're standing on their shoulders. So standing on the shoulders of giants allows you to see further. So when one person comes up with an idea, although that idea is now owned, it isn't sort of the end of the innovative process. Somebody else still can work and build and develop and add to that idea. The costs of patents for the public are, one, there's a deadweight loss. That comes from the monopoly rights. The fact that monopolists can charge a price above marginal cost. There are certain consumers who would like to use the product, but are excluded from doing so because the price set by the monopolist is, in a sense, too high. So there is a deadweight loss of monopoly. Competition is an efficient form of market structure in terms of maximizing welfare. Monopoly is inefficient because welfare is not maximized. But because we want the ideas to be created, we take this sort of temporary inefficiency and hope that in the long run the availability of the product will offset the temporary loss. It's better to have a cure for cancer that might be controlled for 15 or 17 years and then have it available after that than not have it at all. And also with patents, you can get duplication of investment. Companies can get caught up in what's called patent races, where they're all chasing the same idea, where they're all spending research and development costs, but all chasing the same goal. And only one company will get the patent. So a certain amount of resources are chasing the same goal, and only one company will win. So looking at patent races, so we let Pn, P is probability and N is the number of firms, be the probability that an innovation will be produced when N firms have undertaken investment in R&D. So we get a cure for cancer, a cure for AIDS, a cure for some particular illness. The probability we'll assume is dependent on the number of firms undertaking investment who are spending money to try to find this particular innovation. So every additional investment increases the probability that the innovation will be produced, but less than the previous investment. So the probability rises with more investment, but at a decreasing rate. So as you go from 1 to 2 firms, the probability might double. But if you go from 15 to 16 firms, well, what are you gaining by having the 16th firm chasing this innovation? Surely the previous 15 are looking at every possible avenue anyway. So adding more and more firms has a lower and lower impact on the probability of success. So therefore Pn is increasing in concave, increasing in N. The more firms that are chasing this innovation, the greater is the chance of success. But as more and more firms are added, the gains from extra firms is lower. So if N firms take part in the race and the innovation is realized, so each firm has a 1 in N chance of obtaining the patent. So if there's 2 firms chasing it and it's a success, somebody finds it, well, assume it's 1 in 2. One of those 2 firms will have got it. If there are 10 firms trying to chase this particular innovation and it's successful, well, then it's a 1 in 10 chance. So if it's successful, the chance of any one firm being successful depends on the number of firms in the chase or in the patent race in the first place. So if the innovation is a value of V, so what are the firms chasing? Well, clearly they're chasing value or profit. So if the innovation has a value V and the cost of the R&D investment is C, the expected profit of a firm that enters the race is the following. Well, what is it? Well, V is the value of the patent, the profits you can earn. C is the R&D cost you'll incur. But every firm that enters the patent race isn't going to get the benefits. In fact, the benefits only come with a certain probability. First of all, there's the probability that the innovation is found in the first place, Pn. And then if it is found, there's the likelihood that it is one particular firm that gets it. So Pn is the probability of success, N is the number of firms. If Pn is 50 and there is, let's say, 5 firms, well, then the chance of any one firm being successful is 0.1 or 10%. 0.5 divided by 5. So firms will enter the race as long as the expected profit is positive, as long as this yields a return. That if the expected value of having the patent is greater than the cost incurred, firms will enter the patent race. But the issue to note is that the costs incurred is definite. There is no probability out here. It just is C. If the firm enters the patent race and starts spending R&D, building the lab, hiring the scientists, undertaking the research, it's going to incur the cost C. The benefits only come with a probability. Is the thing found in the first place? What chances of your individual firm being successful? But so firms will continue to enter as long as this calculation is positive for them. What is the expected value and how does that compare to the costs? So if the expected value is 10 million and the cost is 8 million, well, they'll say a 2 million profit, an expected profit of 2 million. The actual value could be far higher. This could be something that could be worth 100, 150, 200 million. But their probability of success could be 0.10, 0.05, even lower. So the total number of firms participating in the race will finally be the one that verifies where the expected profit is set to 0. So NE is the equilibrium number of firms. How many firms enter the patent race? So as long as firms see an expected profit that is positive, they'll continue to enter. So they'll weigh up the cost they're incurring against the profits they could earn. So it can easily be verified that the social benefit for the race, i.e. the difference between the expected benefit for society and the sum of the investments undertaken, is 0. So why is that? Well, if firms continue to enter until the expected profit of the ETH firm, the equilibrium firm, is 0. Well, then overall, what do we have? Well, we have the probability of success times the value minus the n firms that enter multiplied by the cost they incur. So the expected value minus the cost is 0. The net benefit for society is 0. Overall, there's too many firms entering this race for this product to actually generate a positive return for society. There is V, a value, from having a new wonder drug or a new treatment or a new innovation or a new product, but it's been offset by the costs incurred. And it's not just the cost of the firm that's successful, it's the costs incurred by all the firms that are unsuccessful. We're dealing with limited resources. So we've limited R&D funding available, and in this instance there is a certain number of firms who are spending their money on something that they don't gain anything from. They undertake research and it's largely wasted. Somebody else got to the finish line first. So they could have devoted 2, 5, 10 more millions into a particular innovation, seen some other firm get the patent, get the product to market, and their money goes for naught. So there's a waste of resources. It'd be much better if all the companies were innovating in different areas, if the limited resources were not in duplication, but were in separation. So when looking at it, where is the social optimum? And again, this is from the reading on Blackboard. So we're dealing with two lines. So on the vertical axis, we've money. So there should be a euro label here. And on the horizontal axis, we've N, the number of firms. So we're looking at two lines. One is to do with the costs, NC. So this straight line here is the cost, the R&D that society spends trying to come up with this product. It's a straight line because each firm, we assume, incurs the same cost, C, and as more and more firms enter, the total amount of spending increases. So you go from N equal to 0 all the way out to NE and beyond, the cost incurred. The second line is a curve. It's based on the benefits created. V, the value of the product, actually having this new innovation created. But this only comes with a certain probability. If no firm tries to innovate in this particular area, clearly the probability of success is 0. So regardless of the value of this new wonder product, if no firm is looking for it, well, the outcome will be 0. So as the probability increases, the value, the expected value of the innovation increases. And how does the probability increase? Well, it increases with the number of firms. As more and more firms enter the patent race, the probability of success rises. And as we said, it increases at a decreasing rate. At a low number of firms, each additional firm is bringing something new. So the probability rises quite rapidly at first. But as the number of firms increases, the amount of original or new material any one firm can bring to the patent race is getting smaller and smaller. So the probability is increasing, but at a decreasing rate. So the line associated with the value or the benefits is this curve here. So this basically gives us the costs and benefits of society. How much does it cost to have the innovation created? Well, how much R&D expense was undertaken? And what's the value of having this R&D expense being undertaken? It's Pn, the probability of success, times V, the value of the product. So what happens in the sort of free market case? As long as firms see a positive expected profit for themselves, they will enter. And that will get us to this position here. That is NE, the equilibrium outcome. And at NE, you can see that society is largely no better off than if it was down here. At this position here, the net benefit is 0 because nothing happens. No money is spent, no value is created. Up here, there clearly is some value. There's Pn times V. but it comes at the expense of NC, the cost incurred by all the firms. So in a sense, the net gain for society is zero, even though there's huge R&D undertaking and the probability of success might be quite high. Society will be best off back here, where the gap between the two lines is greatest. On a simple cost-benefit analysis, the benefit exceeds the costs by the greatest amount here. Okay, additional R&D expense will increase the probability of success, but eventually you come to the stage where spending the money isn't simply worth it on a benefit basis. Like even going out beyond here, if more firms out here enter the race, you're actually destroying value. The firms are incurring these costs, using these scarce resources, and not adding any significant benefits. So the optimum position is this point here, N star, we'll say. The socially optimal number of firms entering the patent race. So the socially optimal investment effort is the one that maximizes the difference between the expected social benefit, that is the PNV curve, and the corresponding total R&D cost, the NC line. So that's the position N star. And that's actually fewer firms chasing the innovation than in the free market outcome. So the ability for firms to enter the patent race freely leads to point NE. That's the free market equilibrium, where the total cost equals the expected profit. So we can see that NE is greater than N star. In the free market equilibrium, more firms enter the patent race than is socially optimal. N star is the position where benefits exceed cost by the greater amount. So the number of firms participating in the race is always higher than the number that maximizes welfare. So the excessive investments undertaken by firms waste the benefit that society derives from the innovation, simply because some of our scarce R&D resources are just replicating each other. They're all starting off the project, all moving through particular steps. One firm gets to the end, and 9 or 10 firms are left with filing cabinets of something that's worth nothing to them. They must go off and start somewhere else, where society would be better off if the investment, the innovation was spread, between different targets. So this is one other area where there's a role for government in research, a role for government in sort of the market for innovation. Not saying that the government should be undertaking the research, but maybe it should try to centralize the research, so that firms know what each other are doing. In many cases, firms will try to operate in secret, not tell each other, not give away their own secrets, not give away their own R&D. But with that, you'll end up with an inefficient outcome. It would actually be better if firms were more open and exposed to each other what it was they were doing. You spend money looking in this area, you spend money in this area, you spend money in this area. The scarce resources would be going to different needs, different ends, rather than all chasing the same end. And one argument is that research could be centred in areas like universities, that a centre of research can occur in a university. And we're about 20 yards from one here. The Biosciences Institute is basically a research institute. No classrooms over there, no teaching that takes place over there. That's a whole institute for research, primarily in the area of cancer. And if you go in there, there's different labs, different research teams, research projects, sponsored by the main pharmaceutical companies, many of which are based around Cork, undertaking R&D in open plan offices, in open plan labs, organised by a research professor or research organised university, where all their results are made public and many of them are published. Yet the value of the products that could be created in there could run to hundreds of millions, even billions. Yet nobody is trying to keep it a secret. The issue is for the firms, they have limited R&D budgets. They want to collaborate and work together, rather than all waste their resources chasing the same ends. That Pfizer, Glaxo, Eli Lilly could all have their own separate labs, but they all have to start from scratch. In a situation such as this, they can cooperate and work together, pay postdocs, pay researchers to undertake the research and collaborate together. The outcome from the research could be greater in situations such as this. Clearly, it's only happens in sort of small cases. That research institute here beside us isn't huge. The pharmaceutical companies themselves would have institutes probably as big as university here, trying to devise new compounds, new innovations, where much of that would happen in secret. But some of it, the research, is funded through universities. And one of the issues is this concept of patent races. That if everybody is chasing the same goal, money is sort of being wasted doing the same thing. The same startup research and the same projects being undertaken, and the outcomes aren't being observed. So there is a role, say, for government in sort of organising research. I'm not saying they should undertake the research. Governments wouldn't have a reputation for being very innovative, but maybe providing the structure under which the research can take place. The value of a patent we look at. So the last issue we look at today is just the value of a patent. Why are firms chasing these? So a patent is the right to an income stream for a fixed period of time. Having a monopoly power allows you to earn monopoly profits. If your product is something that is desired by consumers, they will pay for it. There's no point having a patent for something that people don't want to buy. There's no value in that. The value comes from what people are willing to pay. And if you have a product that consumers want and you have a monopoly over that product, you can earn a monopoly or supernormal profit. So the value of the income is based on how much people are willing to pay. However, the value of income in the future is not the same as the value of income now. So if I told you I'll give you €100, but I said I'll give it to you in 2021, you say, well, that's not really worth the whole pile to me. I want €100 now. So a patent grants you the right to earn monopoly power, but spread out over 17 years. You can price in the profits you'll earn in year 17, but you have to wait until they get there. And the value to you of them now is much lower. You prefer to earn €100 profit now in year 1, rather than say, look, I can earn €100 in year 17. The value of the €100 way down the line is much lower. So the value of the patent is spread out over a number of time periods. So this Greek symbol here is capital S, sigma. It just means sum. Add up over a certain number of time periods. When do we start? When the patent starts. T equal to 1. When you have the innovation, have the idea, the patent starts running. T equal to 1. When do we stop? When the patent expires. And we'll just say that's time T. 10, 15, 17 years. How much do you earn each time period? That's pi T. So the profit you earn in each time period. For the profit you earn in year 1, it's just a number. Whatever profit you earn now. But if you earn the profit into the future, it must be discounted. And the discount is the interest rate. If I give you €100 now and you put it into the bank at 5%, in 10 years' time, it'll be about €170, we'll say. So if I gave you €100 now, it would be worth €170 in 2021. If I told you I give you €100 in 2021, you're worse off. If I give you €100 now, you put it into the bank at 5%, in 2021 you have 170. If I tell you I'll give it to you in 2021, you're just getting €100. In that instance, there's a €70 difference between getting the money now and getting it in 2021. So the time value of money is much greater now. So R is the interest rate. That is, if you had the money now, how much interest could you earn? So 1 plus R to the power of T is the discount factor. The further into the future money is earned, the greater it must be discounted. T being the discount factor, and R is just the rate of interest, whatever the going rate of interest is. So the value of a patent depends negatively on the rate of interest R. The higher is the interest, the more you're losing out by earning your money in the future. If the rate of interest is high, you should possibly sell the patent. See what you can get for it and put the money into the bank. You'll get a higher rate of return. So the value of patent also depends positively on its duration. The longer the patent, the more profit can be accumulated. Conversely, the value of a patent diminishes as it approaches term. So it's of course 0 when T is equal to 0. So the question this addresses or raises is, how long should a patent be? And that's a question we'll take it up with tomorrow. How long should it last?